So I just want to start this video off by saying that I am not a film critic or a movie critic or a film reviewer or any of that sort. That doesn't apply to me. I just be watching movies, bro. I actually rarely even go to watch like reviews on movies before I watch them, because a lot of times I actually watch a movie that everybody hates and I like. So that might be the best way to start this video, because we're going to be talking about Dune Part 2, but I feel like it was necessary. I am not a film critic. I just be talking, right? Okay. Now let's talk about Dune Part 2 for a second, right? Because it just dropped. I just got back from watching it again for the second time. And bro, this movie is insane. This has to be my favorite movie of all time. I'm not even trying to be funny or exaggerative, if that's a word. I'm being dead ass. Dune Part 2 is an amazing movie and is my favorite movie of all time, for several reasons, right? If you are somebody like me, right, who you go to watch a movie in theaters every so often, maybe like for me, 5 to 7 times a year, you don't really go to see movies all the time, but when you do go, it's because you're very interested in watching a movie or you heard really good things about a movie. You need to go and watch Dune Part 2 right now. Before I even continue with this video, you need to watch Dune Part 2. I don't care if you don't feel like it's interesting. Watch Dune 1, then watch Dune Part 2 in theaters, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's a great movie, right? For a long time for me, I really wasn't watching movies like that, because movies to me kind of fell off, especially those Disney and Marvel movies. I used to watch every single Avengers movie in theaters, every single Marvel movie in theaters, right? And at some point after Infinity War, I feel like they just started to produce complete and utter shit. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to spend my money to go and watch this in theaters. I'm going to wait for the reviews. If it's good, I'm going to watch it. If not, fine. And the reason why I kind of wait for reviews with Marvel movies is because Marvel movies are very easy to review. If everybody is saying that a Marvel movie is trash, it probably is going to be trash, because like everybody's really looking for, everybody who's watching a Marvel movie, to be honest, is looking for one thing. They all kind of looking for the same amount of entertainment, the same entertainment value, the same, like, it's not difficult to know if a Marvel movie or a comic book movie is going to be trash or not, right? So with Marvel movies, if the reviews are bad, I won't watch them. Normally, if it's like a random movie, I would still watch it, but Marvel movies, nah. So all that to say, I really haven't been enjoying cinema a lot recently, until Dune came along. No, let me give you guys a little story, because Dune Part 1, which drops like 3 years ago, it released 3 years ago in cinemas. Dune Part 1 to me was a great movie as well. I was trying to put all of my friends onto Dune Part 1 because everybody was saying how it was a boring movie. It was slow, didn't have much action, and I'm like, bro, just watch it a couple more times again, because I had the same initial reaction to Dune Part 1. The first time I watched Dune Part 1 was on HBO Max, because that was during COVID, right? So I watched it firstly on HBO Max. I was like, you know what, this movie is kind of alright. It's decent, nothing too crazy. The second time I watched it, I was a little bit intoxicated. I had yeah, that time was different because I picked up on things I wasn't seeing before. The story started to make more sense. I was like, wait, let me go and read these books. Let me actually go and read these books now, because this story is kind of insane. I didn't read the book still, but I just seen, like, I wanted to in that moment, right? Dune Part 1, after my second time watching it, being a little bit, Dune Part 1, or just Dune, became instantly one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. The cinematography, the setting, the audio, the acting, the story, it was so good, right? But to make sure, I watched Dune Part 1 a couple more times again. I watched it like 4 or 5 more times, because when you're kind of high and you're watching a movie, anything could be good. Anything could be entertaining to you if you're watching a movie and you're high. So I was like, you know what? I could have just been completely exaggerating how good this movie was in my mind because I was high. So let me watch it again and again and again and again. And I can safely say that after watching Dune Part 1 like 10 to 15 times at this point, I'll let you watch it like last night, I could safely say that Dune Part 1 is still an amazing movie. Dune Part 2 is on a completely different level. Every single thing about this movie I think is perfect. I don't have much critiques. I don't have much, gripes with this film. I feel like it was just an amazing experience, especially watching it the second time by myself with nobody else around me. Just going there by myself in IMAX, just taking that shit in for the second time. It was such a good movie. It made me really like movies again. It made me enjoy, going to the movie theater and watching a movie and really just like enjoying that experience, buying food. And because I feel like that whole art of going to see a movie and just really looking forward to seeing that movie, I feel like that whole culture was kind of being erased, because so many movies recently have been dog shit, apart from like Oppenheimer and a couple others that I can't think about right now because I'm not a movie goer. But I feel like a lot of movies recently have been shit, right? So Dune has really been my saving grace. I've been waiting for this movie to drop for the past 3 years, and I can confidently say that this was completely 100% worth the wait. It was a great movie. I also want to say that this is one of those movies where the hype actually makes sense. If you guys have been seeing this movie being hyped up on Twitter and TikTok and everywhere, it's because it actually makes sense in this film, you know. I am one of those persons that if people on Twitter are saying that something is trash, I always take it with a grain of salt. I always take it with a grain of salt because I feel like people on Twitter just be talking. They just be talking for talking's sake. It rarely ever makes any kind of logical sense what people on Twitter be saying, you know. So I rarely ever take comments on Twitter and TikTok and stuff and really, you know, take it to heart and form an opinion based on those comments. But I'm telling you guys right now, if there's one movie you need to go and see based on Twitter hype, is Dune Part 2. I kind of want to spoil stuff right now, but I'm not going to. This is not going to be like a spoiler video because I feel like I don't want to spoil it because I want you guys to go and see it. You know, a movie is good when you actually watch a movie and you feel inspired to make movies. I have never in my life thought about making movies or being an actor, or, you know, getting into like theater arts. That was never like a conversation in my mind ever before. But after watching Dune Part 2, I was like, bro, I feel like I want to create movies because the way that this movie is directed. Shout out real quick, the director of this movie, Denis Villeneuve, an amazing director. He has directed some of the most amazing movies of recent time. But I'm just saying, like, you know, it's really a good movie when you find yourself being inspired to create shit. And that's how I felt every single time, every single second of me watching Dune Part 2. The acting, the cinematography, the shots, the music, you know, big up to Hans Zimmer too, because Hans Zimmer was behind that score, that amazing score that, you know, if you watch Dune Part 2 or you watch any Dune movie, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. But the music, the atmosphere, I really felt like I was in that environment. I was in that universe. I could sit down here for another 15 minutes and just ramble on about how amazing this film was, but it's not gonna make any sense. This is kind of like my little way of trying to promote this movie because I feel like my mission right now in life is to convert all of my friends, all of my family members, everybody I know basically. I want to convert them to Dune fans like me so I could talk about Dune with them and geek out with them. So that's what I'm doing right now, you know. I'm trying to sell it to you guys. I want this movie to have a part 3. So you need to go and watch it, spend your little money, buy those tickets, an IMAX preferably, and go and watch it. Watch it twice. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Just watch it because selfishly, I need to see a Dune Part 3. And I feel like a Part 3? Anyway, all that to say, guys, this was a great movie, you know. This was a great movie. It made me love going to the cinema again. It made me love being excited to watch a movie in theaters again because I haven't felt that for a very long time. Just go and watch it. I'm going to stop talking. Go watch it. Book your tickets right now. Go watch Dune Part 2. Do yourself a favor. Take some friends. And if you have no friends, go by yourself. Nobody's judging. You don't need friends to go watch a movie. Take yourself and go to the cinema by yourself and enjoy a movie by yourself. With your little popcorn and your little drink. Nothing's wrong with that. That's actually a more enjoyable experience sometimes. Go watch Dune Part 2. You'll like it. You'll love it. Alright? Watch that shit.